Jesus. Jesus is the reason for all of this. Jesus' life altered world history more than any other figure, period. This man who lived 2,000 years ago in a land far, far away has today 2 billion followers on planet Earth. Our calendars are based on his life. The holidays around his birth, death, and his resurrection stop the world in its tracks every single year. Jesus primarily affected the world in 2 different ways, with his teaching and with his death and resurrection. Jesus was a teacher. In the Gospels, he is oftentimes referred to as rabbi, which simply means teacher. He taught a way of living that was based on the teachings of God in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Long before Christians were ever called Christians, we were simply called followers of the way. Jesus had a way. The foundation of his way was based on love of God and love of neighbor. During the bulk of his ministry, his teaching was primarily directed towards expanding people's understanding of who our neighbor is, or who are we to love? Who is our neighbor? Where are our neighbors? Everywhere we look. Towards the very end of his ministry, he moved from who to love to how to love. On the night before his death, Jesus told his followers that they were to love one another as I have loved you. With that command, he challenged us all to love with the same reckless abandon that he loves us with. And then the next day, Jesus died. He died at the hands of the Roman government and the religious leaders in Jerusalem. They had him executed because he claimed to be God. The religious leadership of Jerusalem saw this as blasphemy, which is why they wanted him dead. The politicians saw this claim as insurrection, Jesus putting himself above the emperor. That's why they wanted him dead. And so they had him crucified. Then once he was dead, his body was removed from the cross and was placed in a tomb. That all happened on a Friday. On Sunday morning, some women came to the tomb to perform the final burial rituals. And Jesus wasn't there. They heard angels tell them that Jesus had risen from the dead. Then a few hours later, Jesus showed up in the upper room with the disciples and showed them his wounds from the crucifixion. Not long after that, Jesus met them on a beach and ate breakfast with them. I know it sounds crazy to say that someone came back from the dead. I know. I get it. I know that that just doesn't happen every day. When we have a funeral for someone, we don't then expect to see them a few days later. They don't just turn up looking for breakfast. But there is actual evidence of this resurrection. First, no one has ever found a body that was supposed to be the body of Jesus. All the religious and political leaders of the day would have had to do to end the Jesus movement once and for all would be to produce a body. Like, here's Jesus. But they never did. Second, it wasn't just one person who saw Jesus resurrected. Many people did. And many of those people wrote that story down. It would have had to be a mass delusion for so many people to be caught up in something like this. And third, the people who were witnesses of the resurrection professed their belief in Jesus' rising even when their lives were in danger. 10 of the 12 original disciples were killed for preaching about Jesus. If it didn't happen, if they weren't sure, if they were all involved in some kind of conspiracy, wouldn't have at least one of them would have said something to stop their execution? Like, okay, he didn't rise from the dead, but they never did. As Christians today, we believe in the resurrection. We believe that Jesus was a great teacher who also conquered death. And by faith, we share in Jesus' life, his death, and his resurrection, all the while walking his way of love.